Aloha and welcome to the Here in Hawaii podcast, presented by Hawaii State Federal Credit Union. Today we're going to be hanging out with Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, the former and first ever Bellator Women's Flyweight World Champion. I knew we'd have a lot to talk about, but we had such a great conversation that we actually stayed way too long at her family home, and you'll see, day turns into night as the episode goes on. I've been following her career for years and I had some burning questions I really wanted to ask. But first, before anything else, because I'm a crazy dog dad, I had to ask her about her constantly growing family of dogs. The one thing I wanted to talk to you about first over anything is every time I see her post about your dogs, it seems like your dog family keeps growing and growing. How many dogs do you have right now?
Okay, officially I have 4 that are like my dogs. They're all rescue, but we like to foster also. So yeah, whenever I'm not in fight camp and we're not traveling, then we try to foster as much as possible.
So at any given time, how many dogs are in your house?
The most we've had was 7 dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like 6 were foster, and then 1 was like a last minute emergency like dog sit for one of my friends out of town. So yeah, we've had 7 at once. I don't know how, but my dog daddy Jason, he's like the dog whisperer, and so for the most part they get along. It's all good. Of course, you know, they're just like siblings. They scrap sometimes, but we have the system down. Yeah,
because I couldn't imagine, because they're not small dogs either. They're pretty big.
Oh yeah.
Like, does it ever feel like it's crowded? Because sometimes I've seen you guys post like where they own the bed or the couch, 100%.
Right? Yeah. So like, no, the bed's not even mine anymore. It's literally my dog's. And I never thought that, I'm sure all dog owners say this, but like, I thought I would be the dog owner that would let their dogs up in bed.
Yeah.
And now I'm that crazy dog mom that like can't sleep without them.
Aww.
I mean, they push me off to the very side. They always have to be touching me. And so I don't get the most comfortable sleep, but that's fine. I'm always like, is this what human kids are like? And all the parents are like 100%.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Because she has two boys from her previous marriage, but I came in after they were already grown.
Oh, okay.
So I missed that part.
Yes.
But
so
now
stepdog daddy.
Yeah, but the dogs are mine.
Yeah.
They've taken me away from her. So like I sleep with dogs, and then she needs her rest. So,
yes.
Because the dogs will wake me up at all hours of the night for whatever they want. And I'm that one that goes, okay, let's go.
Yep. Like I can tell just from their breathing pattern that, like, you know, if they're awake or if something's wrong, or, you know, I can tell from how their paws sound on the floor, like which dog is coming.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm very in tune with them, and yeah, it's always hard whenever I have to leave. But yeah, I'm actually planning, sorry, I'm like skipping ahead, but I'm planning on coming back to Hawaii permanently.
Oh, yay.
And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the best way to transport my dogs. Honestly, I'm probably just going to have to like charter a plane, because I am looking at all other possibilities. I'm like, no way my dog's going underneath. Like, I can't put them under.
I can't imagine that either. It sounds so horrible.
Yeah, and then I legit was like, okay, do I have to get a stroller for one of them who can't walk really well? Like he's my Bodo boy. His name's Allie Campbell, and he's like one of my medical rescues. So he has a hard time walking. He's like my favorite, honestly. But
you're not supposed to say that.
I know they're gonna hear me, but I was thinking like, okay, no, I would definitely have to get a stroller for him to take him through the airport. I'll definitely buy him his own plane ticket. Like, I do anything for him. So, yeah, just trying to figure out how to get my dogs to Hawaii is kind of this new phase that I'm in.
So, were you always an animal lover? Like, was this something that you knew growing up? Like, I'm gonna just have a gang load of dogs in my house?
We always had dogs, but it wasn't. No, I'm definitely crazy now. We always had dogs, but they were outdoor dogs. Like, they were never in the house. And when I got my first dog as an adult, Kope, then like he was an indoor dog because we had an apartment. And after that, I was just like, I cannot have an outdoor dog. Like, all my dogs have to be inside. Yeah, so my dogs are bougie. They like need the AC, they need their bowls cleaned every day.
Wow.
Like they are so bougie, and you know, keep the door open. In fact, I'm not even joking. I honestly like upgraded my house and my life for my dogs. Like I used to live in a smaller house in San Diego, and when my pack started growing, then I'm like, I need to get them a bigger yard. And so I was on the hunt for a house with like a huge property. And so I ended up moving to a house that has an acre. And my dogs do not go outside. So it's like, what did I do all of this for, guys? But yeah, they're bougie and they're my children, and I love them so much.
You said there are a lot of them, all of them except for the ones that you foster are rescue.
Yes.
Was that intentional? Like, is there something that is meaningful to you as far as rescuing, even fostering and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, at least when I was growing up in Hawaii, like all of our dogs were all poi dogs. You know, we weren't really it's just like, oh, somebody had a litter of puppies, like, okay, fine, we'll take one.
Yeah.
So we were never into, you know, the bred dogs, I guess. And then, yeah, when I got a dog of my own, he was from the Humane Society, and he completely changed my life. And that was my first dog, Kope. And he changed my life. I was like, I'm never going back. I'm always going to rescue. So yeah, I think it's definitely something, if anybody follows me on social media, they know I'm very passionate about adopting, not shopping. And I'm very passionate about like rescuing dogs. And, you know, in fact, while the election is going on, you know, people are posting like a bunch of political stuff. And here I am like, make sure you guys adopt dogs, like rescue is the best. And so, yeah, I love my pack. I especially love medical rescues. I think they're the best.
Why is that?
Because I don't even. Maybe because like they super need me. Maybe it's like this my nurturing side, and that's why like my boy Ali Campbell. He was a medical rescue, and so I feel is like my baby because he like needs the most care and attention, but he really is like the best dog. He's everybody's favorite, and so I guess my message for medical rescue dogs is that they are really the best, and they deserve a fulfilling life just like every other dog out there. And so yeah, I just love medical rescues. And too, because Kope, he ended up, even though we adopted him from the Humane Society, he was turned in as a stray. He ended up, it was actually during COVID, he ended up breaking his back or like herniating a disc.
Oh, wow.
And you know, we didn't know what was wrong with him. He was just in so much pain. So we rushed him to the ER. I got him emergency surgery on his back, and he required 24-hour care around the clock. And like, thank God we were in the lockdown.
Right.
Honestly, like that was one of the silver linings of being in the lockdown, was that I could take care of him. And that just changed my life. Like having a dog that's literally paralyzed and you have to do everything for, it was just like, I would do it again in a heartbeat. After that, I was like, okay, I want dogs who can't walk. but then my dog daddy was like, let's just start with something a little bit easier, and then we will, you know, see how it goes. So yeah, but the dogs who aren't able to walk, like they are the freaking best. And so I would take one again in a heartbeat.
The interesting thing to me is it seems like that's really consistent just with how you've carried your life that we've seen, as far as you're always fighting for people or causes or organizations or communities. And it seems like you give so much of yourself for others, which is kind of interesting because in the sport that you're in, from the perception, it's like you're by yourself. You're, you know, I know you train with others, but you can easily have the conclusion of like, oh, because you want to take care of yourself and you know, be solo. But everything I've ever seen you do outside of the cage has been for all of these other people or organizations that probably need that extra support or help. Where did Was that something that always was within you?
Well, I definitely go to therapy for that because I'm like, I'm taking care of too many people.
Like you care too much.
I care too much. No, but in all seriousness, like I definitely get that side from my parents. So my parents, I've always said, and one of my parents.
Yeah.
And you just got to meet my mom earlier, but they are seriously some of the most caring people in the world. And as far back as I can remember, they have always been taking care of others. And this house that we're at right now, this is my home that I grew up in Nu'uanu. And it's actually, my grandma used to call this Home Alaka'i Ipo Halema Uma'u, which translates to the lighthouse, because it was a light in the distance that was beckoning travelers. Oh. So nearly everybody in our extended family has at some point stayed here or come to my parents or my family for help. And granted, sometimes I kind of tease my parents that they can be naive and or enablers, but they've never turned anybody away. And so I think I've always kind of felt that I wanted to be that lighthouse for others. And how could I not be when I had such a blessed life and such a blessed upbringing, supportive family, best friends I could ask for. I went to an amazing school. Just my whole life has seriously been a blessing. So why would I not try to pass those blessings forward and take care of others? But again, I'm definitely an enabler and going to therapy for that.
Well, so what was it like living here? Did you come from a big family where you just always surrounded by family?
Yes. So I'm the baby of 6.
Holy smokes, I didn't know you had 6.
Yeah, we have 6 siblings.
What's the age gap?
So my parents actually had a child from their previous marriages. Mm-hmm. And then they met each other, and it was funny because their children were the same age. Oh, so that's my oldest brother, or my one and only brother, Alden, and then my oldest sister, Cindy. And then when my parents met each other, then they had 4 girls. And that was my sister, Melia, who, she was an amazing athlete. She was Hall of Fame, Punahou Hall of Fame, point guard at UH, Miss Teen Hawaii, just an amazing, talented athlete. And then there was my sister, Anu. And so she was the super artsy, creative, talented in that way. And I've always thought that she was the most beautiful sister out of all of us.
You're not supposed to say that either.
And then there was Mahina. So me and Mahina were the closest in age. She was 3 years. I remember I was a freshman and she was a senior. And, growing up, we would probably fight the most all the time. But yeah, so that was Mahina. And then there's me, the baby tita of the family, I guess. And when I was born, my brother had actually just come back from the army. So there's a 20 age difference between me and my brother. So he was actually the one that spent a lot of time during my formative child care years. And I always kind of credit him for making me a little bit rugged, and eventually getting into fighting and wrestling, grappling and everything. But yeah, so we are just a big family, super close, extremely close, even with our my siblings' spouses and their families, the in-laws, we're all very, very close. And so that's why I've always said that the biggest blessing in my life has always been my family.
What's the key to keeping that family bond and keeping it close, and that you guys want to be around each other? Because in this day and age, that's getting more and more rare, it seems,
Yeah, and I think that honestly following my parents' example, because it's so funny to think that we're a mixed family, because I've never, I'm not oh, that's my half sister, that's my half brother. It's always just been no, that's my brother and sister. And we tend to forget that oh my gosh, we're a mixed family. But I think just like my parents having really great relationships with, you know, the parents of their children and everybody getting along, I think really like set the example for all of us.
Yeah.
And again, them being like the most selfless people I know, I think like, yeah. And our families, like, don't get me wrong, we got our drama. Like, we've gone through times where like we do not speak to each other, but you know, that's every
good to
family.
know, because then I'd be worried.
No, we're not perfect by any means. Like, we've scrapped each other and everything, but we've always like come back together. And I really do believe it's because of our parents, because they don't want to see us, you know, not speak to each other. So everything that we do is like in honor of our parents.
Yeah. To me, it sounds like I would assume that a lot of that comes from them having strength, because that is where the leadership comes from, to be the head of the family, having that strength to make sure that everybody is taken care of, listened to, cared for, and heard, but knowing that this is the most important thing. What is kind of like, has there ever been instances that kind of stick out in your mind of like, this was a pretty, I shouldn't say like badass like moment that, you know, like, my parents are pretty amazing?
Man, I mean, frick, like, even right now, I'm going through a really big transition in life, and I know that like I can count on my parents for anything. Like, even if it puts them in like a really weird position or like tough spot, like, I know that they're gonna come through. And I'm trying to think of like another example where I was just like, I love my parents. Like, it's honestly all the time. It really is. But I remember when I won the belt, or when I defended the belt in Hawaii, like, I remember we had our like post-fight luau over here, and I had gone up on the mic, and it was impromptu. I wasn't planning on like speaking or anything, but I remember one of the reporters had asked me like, oh, what do you want your legacy to be in life, or like in the cage or whatever? And this was like the first time that I had ever really thought of this question, but I totally wasn't thinking about fighting. I was like, oh, my legacy? Like, I just want to make my parents proud. Like, I don't really care about what do I do in the cage, how many wins I have, or like this belt that I have. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, it's all just material things. And I was like, the main thing I care about is making my parents proud and making sure that I carry myself like that, inside the cage, outside the cage, like whatever I'm doing.
Do you ever feel like, it sounds so like, oh yeah, great, but then immediately my anxiety kicks in. I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. Especially because the way you describe your parents, like, they set the bar high.
Yeah.
So did you ever feel like that actually was kind of difficult for you, as far as knowing that this is something that matters so much to you, that you really want to make them proud, that it almost gave you maybe anxiety? Like, because I look at you in your fighting career, and it's like, that's kind of what I would imagine. Like, you want to make people proud, right?
Yeah, I'm people pleaser.
Right,
Again, therapy, yeah. Things I learned in therapy: enabler, people pleaser. I feel like I never felt pressure or anything from my parents, only because they had literally supported me in everything. So this is actually a good example. So, you know, again, I was very, very blessed to be able to attend Punahou, graduate from Punahou. I moved to San Diego to attend San Diego State, and that's how I ended up in California, was for college. But I remember, you know, again, I was so blessed to have these opportunities. My parents helped to pay for my school, and when I finished my undergrad, then I had a summer off, and like before going into my master's program, and I ended up joining a random MMA gym on my way to work, and I was just like, yeah, I want to lose weight. And
Was
So
it just that you saw the sign, or were
Literally.
you thinking, I should look for a gym to...
No, it was because I saw the sign. It was like this like little warehouse gym, super podunky warehouse gym. And it just had a sign that said like MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing. And I actually joined that gym and a CrossFit gym. And I was like, okay, I'll just stick with whichever one I like most. And I just ended up obviously I ended up sticking with the MMA gym. But, you know, I ended up getting into fighting that way. And after a year of me training and competing in like local amateur shows, then that was when Bellator called and asked like, hey, you know, we're starting up this new league or this new division. Would you be interested in being a part of it? And, you know, this is Bellator, it's like a big deal. So, but I had just finished my grad program. So I had grad school out of the way. I was actually, my plan was to like, just, you know, keep competing, not seriously until it was time for me to apply to like, for a career. So when Bellator called, I'm like, ooh, all right, well, let me call my parents first. And so I asked them, I was like, hey, mom and dad, I know you totally helped put me through college, but how would you feel if I fought MMA? And they were like down. It
wasn't even a hesitation?
It was, no, not, and that's what surprised me. Like, I thought they were going to be like, what do you want to, you know, why do you want to do that for? Because I heard that from other parents.
Right.
It was actually my boyfriend at the time. Like, when I had told them my plan, they were like, what, why? You know, and like they didn't want me to. They wanted me to like go support their son. And so anyway, when I told my parents, they were just like, yeah, go for it. Like, do it while you're young and while you're, you know, your body's healthy and you can always fall back on your degree. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But like after that, I was like, damn, my parents are like ride or die.
Established in 1936, Hawaii State Federal Credit Union is one of Hawaii's largest credit unions with 14 locations across Maui and Oahu. They offer full-service financial solutions to meet your needs, everything from checking and savings to loans, credit cards, and more. And as a not-for-profit, Hawaii State Federal Credit Union is able to give back to their members in the form of better rates, lower fees, and innovative services. In fact, last year, they gave back nearly $19 million in share dividends to their members. And they also are strong believers in the power of building relationships and enriching lives, especially by giving back to the community. So whether it's through donation drives or by employees giving their time, the team at Hawaii State Federal Credit Union understands that small actions can have a big impact in the lives of others. So if you're looking for a place to bank that's always right by you, then you gotta look no further than Hawaii State Federal Credit Union. You can visit www.hawaiistatefcu.com or stop by any branch to join the HSFCU family today. Federally insured by NCUA. Did you feel like asking, do you even know what MMA is?
yeah, I know. Actually, yes, because like we were a non-MMA household. I know that's an oddity in Hawaii, but but we never watched MMA at all. Like, never fought. Even amongst the siblings, like literally never fought, never threw punches. I don't even think any of us have been in a street fight. Oh no, I know none of us have been in a street fight. Like to this day, I still have not been in a street fight before. So we were just a very like non-confrontational family.
And then even meeting your mom and then knowing your dad from before, like the sweetest people. And I just can't even imagine that anybody from that household, has that kind of attitude of.
Yeah. And even like, being a Punahou grad, that Punahou had a very, I think it's called like zero tolerance policy. Like even if you were to get into a fight off campus over the weekend and Punahou found out about it, then like you could get suspended or expelled. And I think having my dad work at Punahou made it like especially like, we're not gonna fight. So yeah, I mean, I was like, do you guys know what MMA is? Like, I know you've come to see one of my local amateur fights, but like this is like on a kind of bigger platform. But no, they were super down. And my mom was very nervous though when my first fight came. Like she stayed behind in Hawaii, and my dad had come up to San Diego for the fight, and my mom said that like she couldn't watch, like she kept pacing back and forth, and then finally she's like, I need a drink. But now my mom, like she's like in the front row, like yeah. So everything worked out.
How do you think that changed as far as your relationship with them? Because I mean, you grow up and your relationship with your parents is one thing, but it almost feels like that is kind of a huge turning point of them giving you their blessing of like, we trust you in caring for your life and your life decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it paid off in the end, because I mean, like I like look what I was able to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that if anything, you know, it's scary when your baby goes off to the continent, and like I'm the only one that doesn't live here anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. And you know, they've always known that I'm like, I had a lot of fun in college. Like, I might have like, I think that they weren't necessarily worried, but maybe worried. But I think that once I started fighting and, you know, I showed them like how super hyper independent I was, and that like, hey, I can take care of myself. I'm good. Like, you guys don't ever have to worry about me. And also just being like, in general, pretty strong, like mentally. You know, you have to be some level of crazy, but also very mentally strong to be locked in a cage and like fighting somebody. Then I think that they were able to breathe and like, okay, Ilima's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I think that in the end it totally paid off, and I was able to create this amazing life really because of their blessings to like let me go after this crazy weird dream that I didn't even know I had.
If they had said something different, if they said, no, you need to get your education, finish up school, what would you have done?
I would have been on WAGs. Wives and Girlfriends of the NFL. I legit would have been an NFL WAG. Because my boyfriend at the time, he was in the NFL. We were college sweethearts. He got picked up by the Broncos, and that was the plan, was to like move out to Denver, support him, follow him. And actually it was my mom that, and this was even before I started fighting, but it was my mom that was like, so you're going to uproot your life in San Diego, go out, like follow this guy. There's no ring, there's no commitment, there's no ring on your finger. Like, what happens if he gets mad at you, kicks you out of the house, whatever, you're off on your own, like what? And I was like, wow, I didn't think about it like that. And she, I mean, in a way, she kind of like laid the foundation for me, like, you know what, you're right. I should probably just like stay here and pursue my master's degree and like pursue this random fighting thing that I'm doing, and, you know, just kind of like ride it out and see what happens. And yeah, I really do think that I would have been a WAG if I didn't do that.
That's such a stark contrast, you know, like the way that your life had a fork in the road.
Yeah,
right?
But I am like so happy. I mean, nothing against WAGs, but I'm so freaking happy that like
I'm glad that you're not on there.
That I went the way that I did, because I'm like, oh, it's like way cooler to, you know, be able to be the person in the arena versus like sitting outside the arena, like just, again, it like my fight career was life changing. And yeah, I'm just like, shout out to Mom, Martha McFarlane, for convincing me not to go out there.
What was your master's going to, did you finish your master's?
I did finish my master's.
So what is your master's in?
So my master's is in liberal arts and sciences with a focus on indigenous issues.
Interesting.
And yeah, like my undergrad was actually I majored in cultural anthropology, and my initial like dream, I guess, was to be a teacher at Punahou. I wanted to go back and like follow in my dad's footsteps. But yeah, I really wanted to be a social studies teacher. And I had even applied to the teaching credential program. I applied for Teach for America, freaking applied for Peace Corps, like all of these different, and I thought like I had a super strong application, and I literally got rejected from all of them.
Holy smokes.
So that's when I like switched my application over to this master's program. It was like a liberal arts and sciences program. I got accepted into that, and that's literally when I like joined the gym. So I've always said, it was so meant to be that I did not get into any of those other programs, because it totally would have changed the course of my life.
What led you to wanting to focus on those issues and study that?
You know, I think I've always been like into Native issues. Like, there's not that many Hawaiians at Punahou, at least like during my time.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was always my identity growing up, I was like, oh, I'm Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. And so I think I like carried that with me to San Diego, especially. And, you know, you're like a huge minority up there. And then I actually, when I was doing my undergrad, that's when I started getting more into American Indian cultures and Native American cultures. And yeah, it just like always interested me, I guess, and like seeing the parallel histories and belief systems and just like, you know, societal similarities to Native Hawaiians. I was like, wow, like this is like, we're relatives. And so I've always just like felt drawn to them somehow. And then it's kind of crazy because when my dad did his DNA test and everything, when we were like on the search for his biological family,
which is a crazy story.
We'll
get to that in a sec.
Then we ended up finding out that his maternal grandmother is like from the Poma Nation and the Hupa Nation, which are tribes and nations up in Northern California.
Okay.
And I was like, I knew it. I freaking knew it. We had that one drop. And yeah, it showed up on our DNA test too, that like, yeah, we have like 1%, but I was like, we were relatives. I knew that. And even like now in this new chapter of my life, I actually work for Indian Collective, which is an indigenous-led nonprofit based out of South Dakota. Our founder, he's Lakota, and our mission is to build power in indigenous communities. And the beautiful thing about them is that they've always held space for Kanaka. And so like one of the board members, Camille Kalama, she's Kanaka. There's 2 of us on staff. And so, yeah, it's been a really amazing short 4 months with them. This just happened, but yeah, I've learned so much from them already, and like we really are like relatives.
I've always been curious. It seems like the Native Hawaiian, Native Americans, like they're so connected spiritually to each other, to the land, that I don't see in other cultures. You being right in the thick of it and being both yourself, is there a way that you can describe like where that comes from or why that is? Like, how come, you know, like the Chinese don't have that kind of connection, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's actually kind of, I mean, pretty much indigenous cultures all around the world have pretty similar belief systems, and especially that intrinsic connection to the land. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just like, in the end, common sense that like the land is what provides for us, and the land is a living relative. So like, you know, why would we treat a relative like that? And so I think that yes, there is like a certain group in this world that is disconnected from that, but I think the beautiful thing is that like while many indigenous communities and indigenous peoples, have literally been like wiped off the face of the planet, they have always kept that belief system, and like, whether they went underground with it or they were able to revive it. I think that's a beautiful thing that it like still lives on. And yeah, so it's kind of like my mission to return to that also. Like one of the big reasons why I'm trying to move back home within the year is like, it's just time. Like the kahea has been made. It's time for me to come back. And, I've taken what I've learned up in the continent and all of my experiences up in the continent. And now I'm coming back home to like return to that belief system, and to return to my community, essentially, that like, that's the community that I want to be a part of and that I want to help.
When you earlier were mentioning that you're in therapy and such, I thought it was so great because I feel like a lot of us who are in therapy, like it's so empowering to hear others share their journeys and help us feel like, hey, we're not alone. And this is, it can be, before I think in generations previous, it was a source of shame. Like it's a source of weakness or a sign of weakness. But it almost feels like when you talk about it, it's like very empowering. How has that journey for you helped prepare you for this decision of transitioning here and wanting to influence and help your community in this amazing way that you're describing?
Well, I am like a huge proponent of therapy. I'm always just like, yes, like I think I started my therapy journey like probably 2015-ish. And I really like to learn from different therapists, different modalities. Like right now, my current therapist is a somatic therapist, so she does a lot of like okay, where are you feeling this in your body? And one of our biggest things is that like I'm very good at poker face. Like I have to be good at poker face, because of my profession. But she's like trying to get me to like not do the poker face, and I'm like, it's so hard. And but yeah, it's crazy. Like when she's like, oh, like she can tell. She's like, oh, it's coming up, and like I can literally feel like emotions start coming up, and then I start suppressing it, and she can freaking tell. So she's incredible. Shout out to Anella. But yeah, I just like I was thinking of this meme that I posted that was like, people in therapy are in therapy because of people who refuse to go to therapy. Like, that is so, yes, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that explains it. And that's okay. That's okay. Therapy isn't for everybody.
Right.
But I am a really big advocate for it, and at least trying it out. And don't be discouraged if you feel like it's not for you. I always say, like, you have to find the right therapist.
Yeah.
It's just like finding a doctor that you jive with, or like a gym that you jive with. It's all just about finding the right fit.
Yeah. Can you share with us because I'm almost certain Jamie doesn't know the story, but can you share with us the story about your dad and the journey of finding his brother?
Yes. Okay, so my dad, Walter McFarlane, total stud. You already know him. Like, he is just one handsome bugger, like super athletic, Hall of Fame. Yeah, like tall. He was a model, and again, like tri-sport athlete, Hall of Famer, track, basketball, football. But his whole life, he never knew who his biological father was. Oh. Yeah, so he was actually adopted by his maternal grandmother and her husband. That's how we got the McFarlane last name.
Gotcha.
So like,
I always wondered.
Yeah, we're like really not actually McFarlanes by blood. But his Hanai father, Popsy McFarlane, that's how he got his name. And then it wasn't until his senior year of high school, and he attended Punahou. His senior year of high school, he found out that Grandma Pete, who at the time he thought was his sister, right? He finds out that that's actually his real mom. And so he's like, okay, like...
Did he grow up with her?
He grew up with her, yeah. I mean, but she was obviously older, so I don't think she was, like, around a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, like he totally thought that, and he thought that like all of these older people were like his brothers and sisters, but it turns out like, no, that's your mom and these are your uncles and aunties. So anyway, his whole life he's like tried to find his dad.
Why did he want to find his dad?
Well, I think because he was such a stud, and like I think we all wanted to know, like, yeah, like where did you get this from? Where'd you come from? Yeah. And so we ended up getting him once the DNA test started coming out, like the 23andMe, Ancestry.com. Once those all started coming out, then we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna get it for Dad for a Christmas present. And so we had bought him the tests, and he had taken them, and this was the start of like this crazy journey of like finding his family. I think after like a year or so, then one of my sisters, Cindy, she was actually like really digging into it, you know, and like at the time, all we knew was that his dad's name was Chuck Trimble, and he was a dock worker during the war. So he was kind of like passing through Hawaii. So I'm like, man, that does not narrow anything down. Like when you type in Chuck Trimble on Facebook, like it's just crazy. But yeah, like once my sister Cindy really started like digging into the Ancestry.com stuff and everything, then we were able to find, well, this is crazy. So there was this one profile that it said, oh, you share half of your DNA with this person. It can either be like a half sibling or it can be like a parent, something like that. And when they clicked on the profile, then it doesn't have a picture or anything. It just says Robbie 737 or 737. And my mom, she is like a walking encyclopedia. Like she knows your name, how many kids you have, what schools they all go. Like she's crazy. She just has this like vault up in her head. And so she ends up saying like, oh, Robbie 737. She's like, maybe that's Robbie, which was one of my dad's classmates. And also he was a pilot for Aloha Airlines. So that's how him and my mom had known each other, because my mom was a flight attendant for Aloha.
Oh, okay.
And so, and like his name isn't actually Robbie. His name is Alan Robinson, but his nickname was Robbie. So that's why she's like, like I wonder if it's Alan. So my dad ends up calling Uncle Robbie and like asks him like, hey, are you like on Ancestry.com by any chance? And he's like, yeah. It's like, is your profile Robbie 737? He's like, yeah. It's like, okay, well, I think we're brothers. And like, it was so crazy because up until that point, like they had grown up together. Yeah. They went to Punahou together. They like when my dad would come back from college, he would go stay at Uncle Robbie's house. Like,
oh wow, so they were really
they were close. They played football together. Like my dad was, you know, when he married Auntie Eva, my mom was there. So they were close, and like they even had an inside joke during their time at Punahou, because people would be like, oh, you guys look so alike. Are you guys brothers? And they're like, haha, yeah, we're brothers. And yeah, it was nuts. Like I remember one time I went to go meet up with my dad in Vegas, and he was having a class reunion with his boys. And I walked up to Uncle Robbie and I hugged him, like thinking, I was like, hey Dad. And like he turns around and I was like, oh my gosh. So like that's how close they do look alike. Yeah. And so anyway, yeah, it turns out that my grandma, she had a secret baby, and it was my Uncle Robbie. Wow. And she had given him up for adoption. And yeah, it was like such a crazy discovery too. Like when we like really dug into the records, we found that like she had changed her name on the birth certificate, but she kept like the same initials. Like it was just wild, like all of the stuff that we were finding out. And I mean, the other like cherry on top to this crazy story was that we were able to find both Uncle Robbie's biological parents, because he was adopted. We were able to find his biological parents, and we were also able to find my dad's dad, which was like the whole purpose of this journey.
Yeah.
And so, of course, my dad's dad had passed away already, but he had 5 sons, all like big dudes. They're all up in Northern California. And yeah, like we ended up just gaining this huge family. They actually all came to, we met them for the first time. They came to one of my fights in San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when I fought up in San Jose, they all came and we had the after party at their house. They came down to my Hawaii fight. So like, it's just been amazing, this whole big family tree that we now have.
Yeah.
And like it's been an incredible journey. I seriously encourage everybody to, if you're down to find siblings, like do your DNA test.
Maybe you don't want to. It depends on what kind of siblings you find.
Yes, yeah. But we've had nothing but good experiences with this whole like DNA test stuff.
Have you been able to really talk to your dad about understanding the value for him to discover this and know this? Because on one hand, he had a great blessed life with the family he did grow up with, but was there a way that, this experience filled something that was missing for him that he was able to express to you?
Wow, I haven't gotten that deep with him, but I think I think that, I guess like what I can compare this to, so like one of my girlfriends, she has her babies, right? And we kept thinking, like we asked her, we're like, so the more babies that you have, do you feel like it's taking you away from the other ones? Or like how does that work?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like, do you love one more than the other, And she was like, no, honestly, my heart has just gotten bigger with like every baby that I've had. And we're like, oh, and I almost feel like that could be like comparable to my dad's experience.
That makes total sense.
That, he's already like the biggest sweetheart ever. Like, you've had him as a PE teacher and everything, but I just feel like my dad's heart just got even bigger from this whole experience and finding more family.
Hey, I want to tell you guys about one of the best companies to work for here in Hawaii. And I'm not just saying that. I literally had one of my good friends go down there and apply for a job. She got hired and she is just loving it over there. I'm talking about Elite Parking. I've gotten to know the owners and the management team, and they have one of the best work environments I've ever seen because they're good people down there. And they follow this philosophy of one team making a difference. And so they really take care of each other because they understand the value of everybody working together and being happy. I mean, it's the hospitality industry that they're in. And of course, they want to make sure that first and last impressions are always great. And so they really want to take care of their employees so that the employees can take care of their customers. So they do all kinds of things as it pertains to parking, like valet parking, private events, hospitals. They run the parking for commercial properties and hotels. So lots of opportunities, and they have other positions within the company as well. And so if you're looking for a place to check out for work, they're always looking for really good candidates. So I suggest that you go and check them out. Go to eliteparking.net/careers and see what they got. Maybe it might be a good fit. Here in Hawaii is grateful to be sponsored by UHA Health Insurance. For over 27 years, they've been committed to personalized service, working to provide Hawaii businesses with health plans that help support their employees' health and well-being while building connections through a caring heart. Now, they aren't the biggest health insurer or the oldest, but they're homegrown, they're founded by physicians, and driven by a profound kuleana and privileged duty to care for Hawaii's people. We hope that you enjoy connecting the dots to your why, featuring leaders inspired to malama or care deeply for our community while fulfilling their calling. UHA Health Insurance, your local insurer, offering quality medical, drug, and vision plans to Hawaii employers. Join them at uhahealth.com/HIH. Well, I gotta share with you my experience of how big of a heart your dad has. It's not as awesome as that. It's actually kind of embarrassing. But one of the prerequisites for graduating, and I've told them this story, but she didn't know that it's your dad, was I have to pass the swim test, which is you have to tread water for like 10 minutes straight or something like that.
Yep.
And I am of the belief that I physically am just not able to float. Like no matter how I got the techniques right, I could never pass that test. And it was senior year and I still hadn't passed that test.
Oh my gosh.
And I had retaken it about 4 times.
Holy smokes.
And I was like, I might not graduate because I can't stay afloat for 10 minutes. And so I figured out that below the water, there's a ledge. And if I just stuck my toe on there, that gave me enough of a,
Yep.
And I remember your dad was the one watching, and every time he'd turn around, I'd pull my toe in, I'd just, struggle. And then he'd turn back around and then I'd put my foot back there. And then at a certain point, I think it's supposed to be 10 minutes. I think there was like 3 minutes left. And that's usually when I just couldn't do it anymore. But I know he caught me. And he just goes, you know what, just get out. You passed. And because of him, I got to graduate.
Yay!
Yeah, so heart of gold, that man.
Holy smokes, that's so funny. Like that totally sounds like my dad, honestly. Just like, it's fine, you're fine.
Yeah. Like, stop trying to, like, I know what you're doing. Just get out.
Oh my
like
gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Bro, can you tread now?
No,
What
I'm
the
telling
heck?
you, physically, I think my bones are made of lead or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So honestly, so I'm a certified water trainer for because I do a lot of underwater workouts when I'm getting ready for a fight, like deep in fitness. Anyway, we call this you're negatively buoyant, and there's pros and cons. The pros are that you can get to the bottom of the pool like way easier.
Oh yeah.
And so, for example, I'm kind of like neutrally buoyant, but more on the positive side. So it's easy for me to tread. But it's freaking, I have to like empty my lungs to get to the bottom of the pool. And that like always sucked for me. So you can get to the bottom, no problem.
Yeah. Getting back up though.
Yes. But yeah, like we work on using our lungs as like a life vest almost, and like doing like power breathing where we're like, and we like fill it up and we put it on the top of the water and then like, yeah, anyway.
That makes sense because with my anxiety, I was always
like,
short of
yeah.
I'm not gonna make it.
We should totally have a pool session on like, I was like, oh, we should have put this into the episode, but that would have been hilarious. I would have got you treading comfortably.
Okay.
I'm positive.
Well, that would be a huge, because I've had people who are like, so one, they didn't believe me, and then two, they were so confident, and then they'd have me do these things, and then at the end of the day, they're like, I don't know, I guess you're right. Like, there's no hope for you.
Yeah.
So you would be someone like somewhat of a miracle worker.
Oh.
I've never felt the sensation of floating
Now
before.
I want to try. But like you said, honestly, it really is a lot of mental work and breath work and just feeling comfortable and not going into that fight or flight mode, because that's when you start freaking out and you start like losing your air and doing unnecessary movement in the water. That's gonna zap your energy and everything. So like the training that I do, it's a lot of mental stuff.
Which is what I mean, because I trained in MMA for a little while.
I didn't know that.
I have a shiny 1-0 amateur record.
Hell yeah!
Undefeated.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's like a bucket list kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know that.
And the reason why I stopped was because I decided to open up a fight store. So I opened up Hawaii's first MMA fight shop.
On the mat? Or
Fighters Corner.
Oh, Fighters Corner.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I didn't know that.
My classmate, another Punahou grad, we opened that together. And I remember I had my second fight, it would have been my first professional fight, lined up. I think it's for Rumble on the Rock.
Oh.
And then I was I accepted it. And then we got our lease, approved. And I was like, oh, I probably should earn a living and start this business now while we can. So I pulled out and never went back to pursuing that.
Yeah.
But that's been one of the things that I remember most, was the mental toughness and the strength. And I think for people who don't go through that, it's hard for them to understand the concept of that and where that comes from, of like knowing that you're pushing yourself to beyond limits that that you even think of yourself. How did you get that strength from? Was that something from just training, or did it come from your upbringing, or even an experience that you had as a child?
Man, okay, so this is gonna sound kind of like crazy, but
we're all about crazy.
Okay. So like, I feel like honestly, a lot of my mental strength and like determination and everything was actually born out of a scorn for guys. Well, okay, so like, I've had super crazy relationships in my life, and I always kind of joke that like, oh, that's the balance of my life, because like my family and friends are awesome, but like my relationships are total shit. But I always say that I would not have become a world champion if it weren't for like that crazy breakup that I had that like motivated me. And I think in the bigger picture, it was almost like kind of like an F the patriarchy kind of thing that really just made me, man, like that saying really is true. Like, hell hath no fury like a scorned woman.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it just like drove me. And I kind of encourage other girls and women to like take that energy, take those emotions that you're feeling, take that hurt and that pain that you might be feeling, and channel it, and you can like literally accomplish anything. And again, I totally don't mean to be like all like feminist right now, but you know what, I am. I do mean to be like that, freaking with the elections, just like damn it. But yeah, like I just was able to channel it, and I think that gave me like extreme mental fortitude.
You know what? The funny thing is, that's how I got into MMA.
Oh, yes.
But it wasn't as cool of a story as yours. It was, this girl broke my heart, and she had always told me that she thought MMA was, this was before MMA was popular.
Yeah,
and she'd tell me about it. And at the time I was like, I wouldn't want to, do that and stuff. She's like, you should try it. It'll be so cool. You'll be so cool doing it. And then when she broke my heart, I was like, I'm going to train and I'm going to become a world champion, and then I'll win her back. So not as honorable as your story, but
no, that's same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, I was wondering, I'm glad you told me that, because I was wondering like, how the frick do Punahou kids like get into fighting?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and I also am kind of like, oh, I guess I wasn't the first Punahou student. That was like always a thing I would say. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm the first fighter from Punahou, but frick, you were.
No, you're the first like legit one.
That's so cool. Yeah. I had no idea that you had this whole background.
Everyone says that because like, they see the Punahou and all that stuff, and they hear the way I talk. But, mine also came, so the reason why I was able to make that jump of, this will inspire me to get her back kind of thing, was my biological dad, who I didn't really know, but I knew he was allegedly a world taekwondo champion.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh, it must be in my DNA, so maybe I can do this and stuff. So it's kind of like a little tied to the things that we're talking about.
Totally.
Loosely.
Okay, so my question is, what weight class did you fight at?
I fought at 170.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I was not good at, this was
Cut-
before we knew,
weight,
we didn't know all that stuff,
Yeah.
So like when I cut weight, it was really dangerous. Like I realized now that was not smart, because I didn't know how to do it. So in fact, my best friend, we did a practice run of cutting weight together to just see like, okay, let's do it, see how it goes. He literally could have died on St. Louis Heights, because for his cut at noon, when it's brightest and hottest, he full gi, sweatsuit and everything, and he was like running up the hill, and he said that he literally almost passed out in someone's yard, took off all his clothes and just left it there and crawled home.
That sounds about right.
I was like, we could have killed ourselves. Right.
But frick, even now, like with all the new technology and methods and stuff like that, like people are still nearly killing themselves.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. That's like the one thing that I'm not ever gonna miss from fighting is the weight cut. It's pretty gnarly.
You know, kind of tying back to what you're talking about, you know, we're mentioning the election and stuff, but for people that suffer through great loss, whether it's something like that or, you know, losing a job or whatnot, I'm always curious for people like yourself who have dealt with loss on such a grand scale where it means so much to you, and as far as in fighting, what has been kind of the thing that has helped you most as far as putting things into perspective, or did losses not really bother you? Like maybe it didn't, I don't know, but how did you deal with that?
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, the loss like didn't really bother me because I just focused on what was important, and I was like, all right, I can lose, I can get knocked out, and what's gonna happen? Like, my family's still gonna love me. I'm still gonna have my good friends. Honestly, Hawaii's still there. Like, Hawaii is like ride or die, and I love that. So I was like, all the people that matter to me are still gonna be there. So like, whatever, it's fine. But I also look at loss as like an opportunity to rebuild, and not even necessarily like a loss in the cage.
Right.
Like, you know, we were talking about heartbreak earlier, and like every time that I went through a breakup, then like I looked at it as an opportunity to rebuild, you know, get that breakup body, girl, like freaking go become a world champion. And so like, again, and being able to transform that pain of that loss, I think kind of excited me. And that's why, like, whenever I have girlfriends or like, you know, I work with a lot of women, and whenever one of them is going through a breakup or whatever, or a divorce or stuff, whatever it is, I'm always just like, hell yeah, let's do this. like you're going to get super hot, you know, you're going to freaking do all these amazing things. And yeah, so I've always looked at it as an opportunity. And I read a really amazing book called The Obstacle is the Way. I forget who the author is, but it's called The Obstacle is the Way. And it really like changed my perspective on things, that like you want that obstacle because it's just going to give you an opportunity to like grow and become a better version of yourself. And yeah, you get complacent when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that like being content is a bad thing. Like I'm all about like finding happiness and being content with your life. But I think especially in like certain chapters of your life, you need to continue to grow and be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. I feel like we could all use someone like you for when we have these problems, because I would love to hear that voice go, okay, let's go. Let's
fucking go. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on this, but
I wish somebody told me I was going to look hot.
I am like the best hype girl for breakups. Like whenever somebody tells me like, oh, I'm going through a divorce, I'm like, congratulations. Like, yes. So yeah, call me up if you guys are going through a breakup or whatever, call me, because I'll be your hype girl.
You know, we're so lucky to have City Mill as a proud sponsor of Here in Hawaii, because, you know, they're a kama'aina company that for over 125 years, they've been dedicated to supporting the people and neighborhoods that make Hawaii so special. And the great thing about them is that they're so in line with what we're doing here at the show, because they believe that our people and stories are what make our islands unique. You know, City Mill has been our kama'aina hardware store, locally owned and operated since 1899, so they kind of know a thing or two about our islands. And you can visit any of their 8 convenient locations on Oahu, so you can find them all over the island. They're in Ewa Beach, Honolulu, Hawaii Kai, Kaimuki, Kaneohe, Mililani, Pearl City, and of course, Waianae. So if you need something, try check City Mill. Hey, I wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge and mahalo one of our great sponsors here on the show, and that's Aloha Care. They're a nonprofit health plan, and they've been a really great partner for us in supporting the show. So please support them by going to their website and learning more about them at alohacare.org. All right, now back to the show. I want to leave with one last question and thank you so much for taking so much time to spend with us. But the first experience and memory that I've had of witnessing you was when you had your first fight here in Hawaii at the Blaisdell, and you came out surrounded, and it's just like, I remember just feeling like this is more, and I've been to thousands of fights, and I've never felt that connected to, this is more than a fight, it's a moment. And all that it represented, I just was like, you could feel, the energy. I've always been curious what that was like for you, because I always try to imagine, like, looking through the eyes of someone else. What was that experience like for you, especially so young in your life? Like, you're still in your 20s, like, just a baby, as people say. To have that, but also essentially like putting this whole state, the people on your shoulders and representing them in a worldwide fashion like that. What was that feeling like, and how did that experience from going from the locker room just to the door? What was that like?
Oh, dude, that was like the heaviest moments, like literally of my life, of my career. Like I remember standing, first it was like in the locker room. Yeah. And I always say that that's the most nerve-wracking, honestly, is like the locker room, because you know that like you're coming up next and you're just trying to like calm your butterflies down and like, not overexert yourself while you're warming up, but then you're like, fuck, did I not warm up enough? Like, yeah. So you have all these like crazy feelings going through your head. On top of that, I'm like running to the bathroom every 5 minutes, like I gotta pee, and like, oh good, I'm not the only one. Yeah. So it's like, crazy in the locker room. Yeah. But I had 4 of my like 4 community, like pillars of the community, 4 kia'i protectors, like they were back there with me. And they were the guys that had walked me out. But they were in the back, and they could tell that like, there's like some energy in here. And they just start chanting, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I start getting emotional. I start kind of like tearing up a little bit. But they were in a way, they were like putting a pale over me, or like a protection, like a shield over me, like calling down my kupuna, and like, so yeah, that was when it started. And then when they were like, okay, Macfarlane, you're up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, here it goes. And I remember walking out like to behind the curtain, and I can hear the crowd and everything, and then the lights go down, and that's when like the crowd, it's like, ah! Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, like how did I even get here? And then my kia'i, they go up to the stage. Oh man. And when they start chanting Iku Mau and the crowd starts responding, like I just freaking lose it. And I'm like freaking crying in the back, but I'm trying to chant at the same time. And yeah, when they called my name out, then I like walk out up on stage with them, and I'm like, at this point I'm like crying still, and I have my flag over my shoulders, and yeah, like every step that I took getting closer and closer to the cage, just like the more the anxiety just like kind of left, Wow. And they walked me up to the cage, and I step inside, and I mean, I'm kind of like numb at this point. I'm numb. And, but I remember looking out into the crowd, and I'm trying to find my family, and I see like my family wearing the shirts, and they're all going crazy. And I'm just like, all right, like it's go time. And at that point, I'm just like smiling. I'm like taking in the moment. And honestly, that continues to be like the best night of my whole life, was that night. That moment, like you said, it was a moment. It wasn't just a fight. And then on top of that, being able to like finish her was so nuts. Like I always say, like nothing's gonna compare. At least nothing right now has compared to that feeling that I had. Yeah. and feeling that energy and that support. And I'm like, this is why I gotta have a baby already, because I need to like replace that feeling, and I need to like show my kids like, your mom was a badass. Like,
can you imagine that moment when your kid gets to the age where they talk back to you? You're like,
you don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think about that all the time. Like,
yeah,
I really, like, are my kids gonna think I'm cool, or are they just gonna be like, whatever's?
Well, my stepkids didn't think I was cool until this guy that they thought was cool told them, hey, you know your stepdad, he used to fight. And I told them this before, but then they're like, from hearing it from him, who they looked up to, like, really? I'm like, I've said this for so long. So they don't believe anything about that I'm cool or anything.
Oh my gosh. Man, did you ever get like footage of it?
No. So back then, the Onzuka brother, Mike Onzuka and, now I forgot he's going to hate that I forgot his name. Anyways, they used to have a show called Fighters Club TV, and they would record every single event and everything. And the one show that they didn't record was that one.
Oh, man.
And back then we didn't, this is how long ago.
No phones or anything.
No.
Yeah.
So I just have a photo of my back as I'm like raising my hand. So you can't even tell it's me. So you could say, I could show the kids and like, that could be anybody. Like, I know, but it's me, I swear.
We gotta like do some AI editing or something.
But did you, when you got into the cage, you said you're numb. Did you could you feel your legs? Like, cause I've heard experiences where people just like, I lost my legs. Like,
oh yeah. So like that fight I could, but the fight after that, I couldn't feel my legs. Like I was in the back, like we were literally cutting my shorts because we're like, how come I can't feel my legs? And it was just like a weird adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just wild that like, no matter how many times you do this and you go through the process, like weird shit can happen like that. And you just have to power through. Like that fight that I lost my legs, that was the fight that I ended up like splitting her forehead open and they had to stop the fight, like doctor stoppage. Yeah. But yeah, I was tired as shit, and it was funny because the only reason I split her forehead open was because like I'm tired in her guard. I'm stalling because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And I hear her corner like, she's tired. She's not doing anything. And I was like, oh yeah? Okay, I'm going to do something. I get up and I just go, boom. And I split her open, and then they stopped the fight, and I was just like, I told you. But it's super, it's a really weird feeling. Not like having that adrenaline dump. But yeah, for the Hawaii fight that you watched, like, yeah, honestly, I think I felt numb until she punched me in the face, and then that's when I was like, all right, let's go.
No, because I always wondered that, because I mean, we were all emotional in the audience, and like people were crying too, and I was like, if I was you, I don't know how I could gather myself together, because that whole entrance, I was like, that's bigger than anything, right? And I was just like, I don't think I could collect myself together and then go, okay, what's the game plan? What's my strategies? What's my techniques? And then I also thought, I wouldn't be able to feel my legs and everything. So it's real neat to hear, you know, your firsthand experience. It's answered so many questions I've always had for all these years.
But no, it's really like you just have to get punched, and then you'll
that's all.
Be back in the game. Everybody needs to get punched in their face once in their lifetime.
Okay, so last thing, knowing how much Hawaii means to you and its people, what is it that now in this next phase in your life, you represented Hawaii in such an incredible way through your fight career. Now that you're starting to go into the next phase of your life, the next chapter, what is it that you hope for or want to see for your home here?
Ilima for governor. No, I'm just joking. I'm totally joking. I do not want to get into politics. Hell no.
It would be actually a lot of fun though, because we'd actually know that whatever you're saying, like you mean it.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, like learning, like especially at my new job with Indian, I guess being a little bit more attuned to like the political world now and everything. I'm just like, dang, like we need more Hawaiians in office. Like we definitely need Hawaiians that are making the policies. And I also feel, and I'm sure all politicians say this, but I'm like, I also feel like I cannot be bought. Like I can't be like turned. And I do feel like throughout my career, like I haven't sold out and I haven't like changed my values or my morals.
Yeah.
Like I've always been very just like, this is me, you know? And while I kind of have like maybe not seriously considered getting into that realm, I'm also like, man, how many years of my life do I want to shave off? Like, is this really the arena for me? And I think that honestly, I'm leaning more towards just like staying out in the country and like living a subsistence lifestyle and maybe opening a gym, especially a gym that's like providing a brave space for women. I think that's something that's missing here is like a woman-focused gym in combat sports.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just like, that could totally, there's so many things that I feel like I could do when I come home. But what I want for Hawaii is Hawaiians to return home, people who are allies to be here. I really want to see like the power restored to the lahui, and the lahui isn't just made up of Native Hawaiians. Like I'm not, you know, everybody else needs to leave. It's like we do need to take care of Kanaka first, but we also have allies and we have like the kama'aina, like, you know, the generational locals who have been here who like make up the fabric of like Hawaii and what makes it so special here. So I want for people who like truly are connected to Hawaii, I want them to be able to return home. That's like that would be my platform. I'm like, I want Hawaiians back here. And honestly, I want us to be sustainable. I want us to not have to rely so heavily on, you know, imports, tourism. Like I want us to all be able to return back to the land and to take care of her. And that's easier said than done. Like I'm a freaking towny city girl. Like I don't know how to freaking farm. But I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to fulfill my kulana or like my role in society. Cause yeah, like not everybody were the farmers, not everybody were the fishermen.
Yeah.
Like, and I really think that like my role as a fighter, I feel like I would have been one of the warriors. But
Really? I don't see that.
I feel like working with Native women and Native girls, I think is like my calling. That's kind of, sorry, I was like all over the place with that answer. But, and again, you know, I want to be a mommy. I want to start my family, and whatever that family looks like, I'm here for it. And yeah, that's going to be like my dream when I return home.
Why does that matter so much to you to care for so many other people?
Martha and Walter Macfarlane, that's what they do. And I am my parents' daughter through and through.